Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. You know, one of the things I've noticed during the course of the debate between the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day is just how much effort PMC Media and other trades are going to try to derail the narrative that Spider-Man is just dominating the market. And Odyssey's fine. It just took a very long time to get to $1 billion, and now they're inflating claims around it being Nolan's biggest grossing film ever, while ignoring inflation, which would still put The Dark Knight ahead of it. And I mentioned that in a previous video, which you can check out up over there, but that's neither here nor there. What I know is that in 10 days, Spider-Man Brand New Day scored the best 10-day start in box office history. That's saying an awful lot, considering the competition going into this was Endgame, Avatar, and perhaps even Star Wars. Or at least the first time they tried to redo Star Wars, which turned out to end in a 3-film disaster. But that's a different conversation for a different time. So we got to jump into the story. Here we go. So before we get started with the story from Cosmic Book News and our friend Matt McGloin over there, I just want to remind you I'm trying to get to 50K. So double check you're subscribed. Make sure you leave me some comments at the end of the video. Hit the thumbs up button right now, as it really does help. And make sure you stick around to the end and watch another one of my videos so you don't get unsubscribed. Believe it or not, that really actually works. So we'll get to the story here again from Matt McGloin over at Cosmic Book News. Spider-Man Brand New Day scores best 10-day start in box office history, third best second weekend ever. And let me tell you, that's quite a feat. A lot of films have a hard time staying in theaters for 30 days, let alone getting that kind of performance in 10. It also tells me something else, that adding in IMAX screens this last weekend certainly didn't hurt, and keeping the theater count or auditorium count nice and high with multiple showings made the film more accessible. Even with that, the per theater average was huge compared to its next closest competitor, which was the rated R The Odyssey from Christopher Nolan. And again, that star-filled film is still not where it should be. For as many high-profile names that are in there, and for as much money as got pulled out of the film by Nolan himself, it's just now at slightly more than break even. Whereas Spider-Man Brand New Day not only was break even, but was make profit after its first weekend. Isn't that the way movies are supposed to be? Especially tentpoles, blockbusters like Sony's Brand New Day, and the participation award that goes to Marvel, which under Disney has really suffered. Wouldn't it have been better to have Spider-Man more involved in Doomsday? Or do you think they'll shoehorn him in at the end? We already know what happens to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And look, so all the leaks aside, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't sound good. And I'm not certain that Doomsday is going to be anywhere near what Spider-Man will finish up at. But that couldn't be farther from anything we're focused on now. The second weekend record is a verdict of its own. It defeated everything else, including the Odyssey. Spider-Man Brand New Day is heading to 143 million, now 147 million as I'm reporting this, and that number is likely to creep up by the time we have Monday afternoon's late numbers. And if it does, if it gets over 147, around 148 or 149, even 150 domestically, it will beat out the other films that are just holding it at bay right now, which includes a Star Wars film and Avengers Endgame. Regardless, Deadline and THR are reporting a 60% ease on where this box office performed. Well, that's not a surprise. After the previous weekend, it'd be pretty hard to do better than what they did the first time around. And it was, kind of a fait accompli, despite moving to IMAX. So, as a sophomore setting, as is pointed out here by Matt, Star Wars The Force Awakens is sitting at 149.2, Avengers Endgame at 147.3. So what happens if this film revises up into actual second place? First of all, the trades have to eat crow again for the second weekend in a row, and nobody will be surprised because it seems like revisions for tentpoles, especially in their first weekend, second weekend, always get revised up on the final numbers for Monday because, well, they can't really predict actual foot traffic. Walk-up traffic is harder and harder to predict these days, and they are more and more reliant on pre-sales, which really don't indicate much. Otherwise, we would have thought that the Odyssey would have been over the moon compared to where it sits right now. In fact, the bigger record is the one nobody can touch by Sunday. The running Cume hits an estimated 653 million, the best 10-day start in domestic box office history, and obliterating Endgame 621 million. And obliteration is the correct way to describe it. It left it in the dust by $30 million. There aren't going to be a lot of films coming out that are going to do that. Perhaps maybe Secret Wars could sneak up on it, but I doubt it. I don't think Doomsday is going to be anything worth crowing about. But what I do know is that it's in direct competition with Dune. So you now have two films that are of merit, especially Dune 3, that people are going to want to see. But which one's going to win out? Because there's a limited amount of entertainment dollars out there. And I keep saying this. I keep talking about it everywhere I go. I'm like, nobody's spending the kind of money on entertainment they used to. It's just the fact that ticket prices are so much higher as far as what you have to spend in order to see a film that it really does limit the number of butts and seats. And that also limits the amount of merchandise and other things that can be sold in relationship to the film, which is why, for another reason, I'm going to say don't listen to them about merchandise sales or PVOD or anything else. They are not a significant part of the movie business, or at least not as significant as they have been in the past. These are not the days of George Lucas and Star Wars. These are the days of Josh D'Amaro and Bob Iger and everybody else who really sold their souls for a lot of political messaging. Regardless, Box Office Mojo has come out with some information on Saturday that the overall tally of $1.25 billion worldwide, well, that was an early number because the Sunday number is much higher. And as I said before, you can see that in the video I released right up there. Now, the rare air context for all of this is where, well, I live, but it's what Matt McGloin's talking about, saying only 8 movies have ever cleared 100 million in a second weekend, and 5 of them are Marvel titles. And this is the first Sony release to do it, which is telling me something. Sony has a better handle on Spider-Man than Marvel has on the entirety of Marvel catalog. But does that surprise anybody? I don't think so. Again, No Way Home was the last one with great numbers at 84.5 million. It didn't even reach the $100 million club's front door, which is true. IMAX's first weekend is doing exactly what it should, really bringing in the Spideys, driving 33% of the weekend gross. Guess what? Kind of predicted this, and I think everybody else in the sphere did too, including Valiant Renegade, Odin, and of course WDW Pro. All the people I call friends, and we all talk about the same things. If only I could get Jonas J. Campbell to go on record more often. Maybe I'll have to do a show with him, perhaps on Thursdays. Regardless, Friday alone brought in $43 million for this film. And one more overdue formality along the way, the domestic cume has now blown past Toy Story 5's $170.4 million, making Brand New Day's 2026 number the first one domestically, as well as worldwide, where it took the crown on Tuesday. And through the week, I'm going to tell you right now, just blew the doors off of expectations. If we're not looking at $2 billion by next weekend, I will be surprised. But I have to ask you, will you be surprised? Are you expecting Spider-Man Brand New Day to somehow come in at $2 billion or more? Do you think it makes a run at Avatar? Do you think it makes a run at Endgame? Do you think that at the end of the day, Spider-Man ends up on top of all of these other efforts? I don't know. I think it's possible, and I'm starting to get really excited about that possibility. But the Odyssey did join the $1 billion club this last weekend as well. Unfortunately, it took it a very long time to get there. In fact, 14 more days to get there. So you cannot compare the Odyssey to Spider-Man for a variety of reasons. One's an R-rated film, one's a PG-13, one's a superhero film, one's a mythological tale, one is grounded in source material that really is easy to draw from, and the other is grounded in source material that was, well, absolutely destroyed by the particular adaptation and creative process of one Christopher Nolan. I'm sure you can understand which is which. Anyway, all I want to know is, what do you think? Do you think that Spider-Man crosses $2 billion before we get to next weekend? Or do you think it takes next weekend? And Do you think that the Odyssey even sniffs $1.5 billion? I'm curious what you think. Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you have any other thoughts, drop them down there as well. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! Hopefully seeing a good film. And there seem to be a few coming out later this year.